Hey everybody, welcome to Coker Culture for those of you that are here for the first time. I know recently we have been putting out a ton of gaming video content, and that's something that the boys absolutely love. It's kind of what they want to get out of this channel more than anything else. I know that a majority of our subscribers and that base don't really care for the gaming content. I completely understand that, but because we are in our busy season, we're all back in school. I'm teaching, not coaching yet. That'll be even crazier once we get that going again, but it's easier to film the gaming videos and get those posted because we're not going out and doing as much stuff as we were during the summer when we were able to get that content out to you guys depending on what we were doing then. We really haven't done a lot over the last week and a half. COVID hit the house. Luckily, it just affected the boys. Jess and I tested several times throughout just to be safe, to make sure that we didn't have it and were just asymptomatic. But we tested negative every time. Ty came home with it first. A couple days later, Chad ended up with it. Luckily, both cases were very mild. Ty just had some lingering congestion. Chad had some fatigue, more so than anything else. And, with his lack of energy to begin with, that was pretty rough. But as soon as maybe 2 days after he tested positive, he was pretty much back to his usual self. So didn't really affect them anywhere close to what I'd seen some folks with the original variants. So very, very pleased. We're all going back to work, thank goodness, tomorrow. So school for them. Ty actually went back to school in the middle of last week. Chad is roaring and ready to get back. He misses his friends, and he loves school. He's at that age where it just, everything about it he enjoys. So he's ready to get back, and then I'm very ready to get back too. I've had a little bit of cabin fever since I've been home pretty much almost all week with Chad, and one day with both of them. So needless to say, I'm very ready to get back to work and get back to a sense of normalcy myself. But I did want to film this video to you guys to talk about some things that we've got coming up, specifically to those of you that subscribe for our travel content and our vlogging content, and not so much the Let's Plays and the gaming and things like that. We're still going to have a lot of that coming forward. Outside of this video, that's all you're going to see this week is some more Marvel stuff will come out that we filmed this weekend. But I wanted you to kind of anticipate what we've got going forward. So in a few weeks, we are going to be headed down to Vero Beach, Florida for the very first time. We've never been. We've heard wonderful things about Vero Beach. It's on the Atlantic coast. I don't think I've personally ever stayed anywhere on the Atlantic coast of Florida. I think Jess has. But she's never been to Vero Beach before either. But the videos that we've seen of people that have gone to Vero Beach, it just looks like an absolutely incredible trip. We are staying at the Disney Vero Beach Resort while we're down there. We're hoping that we're going to see some of the sea turtles, since that's what primarily the area is known for, is their conservation of the sea turtle habitat. But it's just gonna, for the most part, be a very relaxing vacation, soaking up some sun and sand and the beach, something that we haven't done. Most of our vacations over the last few years have been go, 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 go. So instead of a week full of that, it's gonna be more relaxation. So with that being said, we are gonna take one day out of that upcoming trip, and we are going to drive from Vero Beach to Orlando, and we are going to spend most of the day at Epcot. because we really want to try and see if we can get on the new Guardians of the Galaxy ride, Cosmic Rewind. We have heard fascinating things about that ride, of everybody just absolutely enjoying it, that it's crazy, that it's so much fun. And so we really hope that we'll be able to get on that ride while we're there that day. Not to mention the Food and Wine Festival is going on, and that so happens to be our favorite Epcot event and festival. So being able to tour the world and try a lot of the different foods, it'll be a fun-filled day for us there. And if that's not enough, we're going to spend that evening, we're going to park hop pretty much, and haven't done that in ages, but we're going to park hop from Epcot over to Magic Kingdom later that evening, and we are going to go to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. Last year, we had the pleasure of going to the Boo Bash event during the same time period. We had never been to a Disney After Hours event before, and we were floored with how awesome Boo Bash was, how small the lines for the attractions were at the event, and not to mention, of course, the candy locations, the treat stops, where you basically get to trick or treat in the park, and then certain Halloween cavalcades. The Boo to You cavalcade was great. That's a song that'll get stuck in your head relatively easily, but the boys had an absolute blast. They have no clue about this vacation at all. So if they're watching this, surprise! But I highly doubt they'll sit here and watch me talk for this long. But what's been weird, because we are going to the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, we have already kind of been in that Halloween mentality. Here at home, we've had to figure out what we want to be dressed up as, because last year when we went to Boo Bash, it pretty much was a spur of the moment, day or two before type thing, where we got tickets, so we weren't prepared. We didn't have, costumes for the boys to wear, or for Jess and I. We just wore, some regular Halloween style clothes. So this year we wanted to be prepared. We knew the boys would want to dress up. So we've been getting all of that together. Everybody has their Halloween costumes. Not going to spoil that for you guys. You'll have to watch the video when it comes out to see who we're going to be dressed up as. But we're really looking forward to that. And we've done some research. Mickey's Not So Scary is not the same thing as Boo Bash that went down last year. They held Boo Bash still coming out of COVID a little bit, so a lot of restrictions. Things weren't as big as they had been with certain after-hours events in the past. Mickey's Not So Scary is kind of the full shebang of it all. So to give you an idea of what that's going to entail, at Mickey's Not So Scary, they do still have some cavalcades. The Boo to You cavalcade is a full parade there. They have a Hocus Pocus stage show with the Sanderson sisters from the movie Hocus Pocus, and it's supposed to feature a lot of other Disney villains in that as well, because with a Halloween event, the highlight is, of course, on the Disney villains. And character-wise, movie-wise, of course, nothing is bigger than The Nightmare Before Christmas. So there is kind of a Jack and Sally stage show that also features the Fab Five, Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy, Pluto, and of course Daisy in there as well, as a sixth. But they're involved with that. Oogie Boogie, of course, is involved. From what we've heard and seen, there are 3 special Halloween attraction themed overlays. Space Mountain, which the Halloween overlay there is, it's just completely dark. They've turned off any and all of the lights within the ride itself. So a little different than normal there. There is a Halloween overlay on the Monsters, Inc. laugh floor, which also serves as one of the treat locations. And then the one that we're looking forward to the most, they've got a Halloween overlay of the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, which the overlay for that involves actual actors, playing pirates throughout the ride. So really, really excited to see that and how that will maybe change the experience of the ride for the evening. And even though there's no special overlay, of course, Haunted Mansion is going to be a key featured attraction at this event that we'll have to see. We're also really excited to see and hear the Cadaver Dans, which of course are Main Street's Dapper Dans, the barbershop quartet guys that are dressed up basically as cadavers, almost as zombie Dapper Dans, doing jokes and still singing spooky songs, except this time instead of being on Main Street, they're over in Frontierland for that. So we're really excited for that. Jess and I, of course, we're big foodies. We love food, so excited to try the special Halloween-themed snacks, foods, drinks that'll be there that night. So again, something else that we're really excited to bring you guys. Coming up again, like I said, in a few weeks. So that's not something that's right around the corner, but it'll be here before you know it. And we're really excited to bring that and show that to y'all. The only other big Halloween event that I wanted to talk about here on the channel is one that has vastly and quickly become near and dear to my heart, and that's Halloween Horror Nights at Universal, HHN. Right now, I've got a big fear of missing out for this event this year. I had never attended Halloween Horror Nights until this past year. Jess and I, of course, had been Universal Orlando annual pass holders for the last several years, before COVID, then through COVID. And as part of that, one of the perks of our pass was we had one free ticket every year for the two of us, or really even the boys, but we'd never even think of bringing them to horror nights. But Jess is not big in scary stuff at all. Doesn't do scary movies, definitely doesn't do haunted houses. So HHN has never been her thing. So we never went. It's something I'd always wanted to do. And so I finally got the opportunity last year to go, had an incredible time, went on one of the RIP tours, so that since I knew I was only going one night, I was able to hit all of the houses, all of the scare zones, and got to see one of the two shows just because of timing last year. And it blew me away. I was so fascinated and loved everything about it. And now, as weird as it is, here we are in mid-August, they are ramping up for all that in Orlando already. It's basically already Halloween season down there. Mickey's Not So Scary has already started at Disney on the weekends and various other days. It'll pick up, of course, as closer we get to Halloween. HHN hasn't started yet, but I believe it starts the first weekend in September. So the weekend leading into Labor Day. So it is right around the corner. And so I wanted to talk for a minute about what HHN has to offer this year, celebrating their 31st Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando. So a big emphasis, of course, because Halloween is on October 31st, this being the 31st of the 31st year of the event, 31s everywhere. And from what I've seen, because they finally released all the information about it, things are very, very, very traditional Halloween this year as far as the theming throughout the park goes, which I think is fascinating. And because of the focus on that number, couldn't have been done any better. But for those of you that watch the channel that are here for the Universal content and have been for the Universal content, and you may be an AP yourself, or you may be just planning to go to Orlando sometime here in the Halloween season and might be going to HHN, I wanted to take a minute to tell you guys what Universal has released and has said you can find while you're at HHN. So let me pull this stuff up and I'll read it all to you guys, and hopefully I'm working on my editing skills. They're not great. Still early in the process for the channel and for me for that, so still trying to come along with my editing, but hopefully I'll be able to put in as I talk about these, the logos and stuff like that that they've put out for the house. So first, the big IP and celebrity tie-in this year for the houses, and I'll talk about all the houses first, is The Weeknd After Hours Nightmare, where they have collaborated with music superstar The Weeknd. And so for that house, they say, prepare to enter the macabre mind of The Weeknd in this haunted house as he stalks your squad throughout the surreal nightmare of his After Hours music. After Hours being the album that they're going to basically base this entire house on, the songs from his After Hours album. A slasher carving a smile at an otherworldly rave. Bandaged maniacs performing extreme plastic surgery. A grotesque mannequin masquerade. His nightmare is now yours. So whenever there's a big celebrity tie-in, a lot of folks already just kind of get down on that house. And I don't listen to The Weeknd, but I am familiar with his music, and I am familiar with his music videos. And from what I know, I think it works perfectly for a house. As far as, I don't know what the details of the house itself will be like, but the scare actors, they're going to do a wonderful job of being able to chase folks around in this theme. Then another one of the IP houses for this year that's been announced for quite some time is Halloween. The original Halloween movie makes perfect sense, again tying back to traditional Halloween, the 31st. But gather your friends and visit Haddonfield, Illinois, where Michael Myers is about to don his mask and embark on his first brutal spree. Silent, merciless, relentless. He's the embodiment of pure evil. You don't want to go alone as you go back to where it all began. This year, step into the original 1978 horror classic, Halloween. So there have been Halloween houses at the events before. There wasn't one last year when I went. They had a Texas Chainsaw Massacre house, and that was pretty neat. It wasn't a bad house by any means, but having an original Halloween house I think will be great this year. And then the other IP house this year that's been announced for quite some time is a collaboration with Blumhouse Studios, and they're featuring two of Blumhouse's most recent horror films in this house. And this is one that I am really excited for personally. But step inside a new double feature of Blumhouse horror. Your Scream Squad will find yourselves trapped between a frantic teen and the ruthless serial killer she swapped bodies with in Freaky. And this is only half of it, so let me talk about Freaky and why I'm so excited for this. So Freaky was filmed right here, not obviously not at the Coker Casa, but in this general area. Vince Vaughn is the main star of that. Catherine Newton is the other main star that do this kind of Freaky Friday switch in the movie as it takes place. But a lot of the films are filmed at the Marietta Square, which is 15 minutes from here. You know, I've grown up around here, so that's fascinating to see in the movie itself. And then one of a longer scene is filmed right down the road at the Outrageous Mini Golf here in Dallas. And if you guys go back a couple months on the channel, we actually filmed a video at OMG, or Outrageous Mini Golf, right down the road. And I did not realize until after I had filmed that and we were leaving the mini golf place that night, they had a sign saying that Freaky had filmed there. And so when I finally got around to watching Freaky, you know, it was instantaneous. I recognized it because we've been there. It's right here. It's locally owned by folks that I know, that I taught at school. So just really, really neat to see that connection. So I'd love to see that made into a house. And because of the impact of the scenes that are filmed at the mini golf place, I would be very surprised if they don't use parts of the mini golf area in the house. So I'd love to see that. The second house, you'll try to make, or the second part of this house, you'll try to make a desperate escape from the dark basement of the Grabber before you become his latest victim in the terrifying Black Phone. And I just so happened to get to watch the Black Phone this past week. I, of course, just didn't watch either of these with me, but I loved it too. It was great psychological horror. I'm very interested to see how they'll make that into a house. But the Grabber, which was Ethan Hawke's character in the movie, just very, very, very well done. So that's a house I'm very excited for. Next up is Universal Monsters Legends Collide. And these are your classic Universal Monsters. They've all had their individual houses before in the past. Sometimes they've been featured in Scare Zones together. I think this may be one of the first times they're featured in the same storyline within a house. But if you thought one Universal monster was scary, how about 3? Better summon your Scream Squad, because you're about to get caught in the middle of an epic battle between the Wolfman, Dracula, and the Mummy, together for the first time ever. Their mission, to find the amulet that will break their curse, and they'll destroy anyone who gets in their way, which of course would include us. Based on merchandise that we've seen for this particular house, it also looks like Anubis, the Egyptian god, is going to play a key role in this as well, probably keeper of the amulet. The next house is Spirits of the Coven. This is a coven of beautiful flapper witches that will lure you into their 1920s speakeasy, then reveal their haggish true form and turn your Scream Squad into a witch's brew. They'll be cackling and you'll be screaming. Y'all have probably heard that term Scream Squad in quite a lot of these descriptions. That's kind of what Universal has put with their marketing out there for this year, is the Scream Squad idea. When they finally announced the rest of these non-IP houses, they did it all at once with like a 3.5 minute movie commercial with a Scream Squad going here, and basically all of them being attacked and killed in various ways by the different creatures from the houses. And so it was really neat. It was a really nice and different way of showcasing all of these new houses that nobody had seen confirmed yet. But that's where the Scream Squad idea comes from. Okay, this next house is one that it chills me to the core thinking about. Okay, Bugs Eaten Alive is the name of the house. While touring a 1950s home of the future, you'll be surrounded by the slime of bugs everywhere as hordes of many-legged terrors descend upon you and your Scream Squad. You'll be dropping like flies. I don't do bugs very well at all. I don't know if I could do this house, and if I did, this would be the one that got me more than any of the others. Just I can't explain it. It freaks me out just thinking about it. And, you know, I couldn't do Fear Factor. When Fear Factor, the show, was there, just the thought of that kind of stuff just turns my stomach. And then some of the rumors and actual quotes that I've seen about this house really amp up that terrifying factor for me even more. The creators of the house, I saw the quote on Twitter. I wish I could remember who posted it, but they legitimately said their hope for the house is that people can't finish the house. And if that is the creator's hope, that terrifies me. The other rumor regarding this house that I hope Universal doesn't do, but I can totally see them doubling down on and doing, is having a food station where the dishes are made to look like bugs. So it's Bugs food. Or, you know, like I've seen pictures of on the internet, not saying Universal has this, but like cakes that look like a cockroach and things like that. Just, I couldn't even imagine. But that's definitely not for me. If I go, will I try the house? Probably. But again, that is the one I'm already freaking out about. The next one up is Fiesta de Chupacabras. Visit a Latin American village where the legend of the creature Chupacabra is celebrated with a colorful fiesta. and the streets are lined with the crimson blood of tourists like you and your amigos. So switching it up, not calling it Scream Squad there, just to fit. From what I've heard, this house is basically going to be built on a village, giving sacrifices to appease the Chupacabra. So the Chupacabra's after you, and the villages are after you to offer you as a sacrifice. The next one up is called Hellblock Horror, based on a prison, pretty much. Enter a prison whose savage inmates are monstrous creatures. If they break free from their cells, it's a death sentence for everyone. So I could easily see this house being a way for them to incorporate creatures and monsters from previous years and previous scare zones and houses, which would be awesome to feature in here. If they go a different route, that's fine too, but I could see this as a way of kind of being a wink to frequent fear and HHN aficionados for years that will probably love that house as a result. Next one up is Dead Man's Pier, Winter's Wake. And I believe this is based off of an old scare zone that was called Dead Man's Wharf. But in this idea, in a New England fishing village, undead fishermen emerge from the waves to seek their revenge. You and your Scream Squad may have escaped their hooks in the scare zone. Now they'll reel you in and drag you under. From what I've seen on Twitter, this is the house that most people are really excited for. I don't know if they've heard things or if just they remember the scare zone and really liking that and the tie-in there. I think it could be really great. Then the last house is the Descendants of Destruction. Careful not to leave any of your Scream Squad behind as you descend the subway tunnels of a deserted New York. Lurking in the dark are hungry mutants looking to feast on the last remnants of humanity. So that could be really anything that they could pull in there. But all of these sound really, really good. And from what I can tell, and from what I've heard and seen of folks that have gone in the past, because again, I'm just a one-year vet of this, the non-IP houses tend to be the best, because the IP houses, especially ones like Halloween that are after movies, Universal tends to follow the storyline and the plot of the movie, so that the movie lovers, folks that love Halloween, the folks that love these Blumhouse films, will not have to think too hard and they'll recognize everything. And it's like they're living out their favorite horror movie, which is great. But with these non-IP houses, the creators can really do whatever is in their twisted minds, which makes for some great horror scares. So, in addition to those 10 haunted houses, there are also 5 scare zones. There's the Horrors of Halloween, which is going to be right as you walk into Universal Orlando. The Pumpkin Lord, who is in one of my favorite houses from last year, Wicked Growth, Realm of the Pumpkin. He was kind of the head honcho, the king of Halloween at the very end of the house. He is back and he's taken over this year's event. Ties in perfectly. So I have a feeling that this first entry scare zone will probably be more of a photo op. Lil Boo, another great marketing idea that Universal took off with last year. Lil Boo is this cute little pumpkin with a carved face. It was part of the exterior of Wicked Growth last year. He's made a return. He's involved in the pictures or the scare zone there at the front of the park. Another scare zone is going to be Scarecrow Cursed Soil. At an abandoned farm, scarecrows have risen from the crust of the earth to hunt you and seek revenge. They'll harvest your screams. This scare zone is going to be located over near the New York area of the park, which leads over towards Animal Actor Studio and the Kids Zone. And from what I've seen and heard of construction there is going to be like a barn built in the middle of this scare zone, just a small barn, so it'll almost be like an extra house, an extra haunted house in this, and that actually ties to a former house called Scarecrow the Reaping. The next one is the one scare zone that I'm the most excited for, called Sweet Revenge, and this is going to be located in the back of the park near the Tribute Store and Revenge of the Mummy. The sweets from Major Sweets Candy Company have turned children into crazed killers. This Halloween's all trick, no treat, and total mayhem. So it could be really, really neat. The props I've seen, folks that have filmed already and taken pictures and posted them to Twitter, they look top notch. While I'm on the scare zone, since the tribute store is there, the tribute store already looks fantastic too, and is supposed to be a direct tie-in to the last tribute store from this summer, which was made to look like just an old school 80s theater. Now this tribute store looks like that same theater, just haunted. It's painted Halloween colors, and so I'm very curious to see what the inside of this tribute store is going to look like, especially compared to the one that was up all summer. The next scare zone is called Graveyard Deadly Unrest. On All Hallows Eve, a dark storm descends upon a cemetery and awakens long dead spirits. No one living can escape them. The name of this cemetery is going to be Nettlewood Cemetery. I've already seen promotional videos and pictures for that. This scare zone is going to be located on the road that the Betty Boop store and the Bourne Stuntacular and the Five and Dime, basically on your way to New York, you'll hit this scare zone first, and then if you continue on, you'll get to the Scarecrow scare zone. And then the final scare zone for the evening is called Conjur the Dark. On the first All Hallows Eve, an evil sorceress called forth monstrosities from dark dimensions. Now your blood will fuel them. And this, as you can tell, it's going to be a witch's scare zone. And it's going to be located back near the exit to Fast and the Furious, in the San Francisco area of the park over near Hogsmeade. Now, in addition to the scare zones and the haunted houses, there are also going to be 2 shows for folks to see. The first, they are not bringing back the Mayhem show that's been the Lagoon show for the last couple HHNs. So the Mayhem show is gone. Instead, this year, it's going to be called Ghoulish, a Halloween tale. It's still going to be the Lagoon show, but on Halloween night, a ghost story becomes reality as you go beyond the grave in a spectacularly spooky show on the Lagoon. So it sounds like it could be very, very good. And then Halloween Nightmare Fuel is back with a new show called Wildfire. Last year, Nightmare Fuel was just the name of the show itself. This is the show that we did get to see. These folks were fantastic. It is like everything at the event is very adult themed and oriented, but these folks, it's like almost like a Cirque du Soleil show. There's magic, there's incredible aerialists and acrobats, a lot of use of pyro and fire. But this year's show, the show that sparked a firestorm last year, is ablaze with a new nightmare. The pyro and aerial performers are back to reignite your fears. So I would definitely recommend putting in some time to going and seeing that. Now, depending on what your trip looks like and what your plans are, I told you guys that last year when I went for the first time, I went ahead and paid for an RIP tour. I did not get a private tour by any means. I wasn't going to put forth that kind of money. But I did do an RIP tour because I knew I was only going that one night. I wasn't going to get another opportunity to go. So I wanted to make sure that I was able to do everything. Okay, so if you're like me, if you're an out-of-stater going down there and you know you're only going to have the opportunity to go once, you may want to look into paying that additional cost so that you can get everything done. Okay, even if you get Express Pass, you know, the whole idea and concept there, it's not bad, but you're still going to have to wait at least half the time for the to see the house or to go in the house. And sometimes those lines can be 2 hours. And so you're still waiting an hour, even with an Express Pass, depending on when you go. And buying an Express Pass, it's not too much more to jump all the way to an RIP tour and ensure you're getting everything in the time frame. So again, something else to think about, they are also bringing back scare actor dining for the first time in a few years, post-COVID now. Scare actor dining is simply that. You get to go and eat prior to the event starting, and scare actors will mingle amongst you while you're there. It does have a new location. It used to be at Monsters Cafe, which was a perfect location for this event. For those of you that haven't been, Monsters Cafe has been torn down. So instead, and I'm curious to see how this will look, it's going to be held at Louie's in the San Francisco area of the park, the Italian restaurant. So curious to see what that will be like. And then aside from the scare actor dining, tons and tons and tons of HHN specific food. And I haven't seen anything yet, so I can't speak on what special items they're going to have this year. I did hear the bugs rumor, but my hope, well, right now, like I said, I've got a big case of FOMO, fear of missing out, because I don't have tickets, and I don't know if I'm going to go this year, but I hope I can. This is something that I'd really like to make a yearly tradition now, because I'm hooked. I'm a big HHN guy. So super excited for that to be started up. Like I said, we do already have the Vero Beach trip that's locked in. The Epcot Days locked in. The Mickey's Not So Scary's locked in. And then fingers crossed for a trip to HHN. Just super, super, super exciting times. I'd love to be able to go one of these days. It's probably, like I said, not going to happen this year. Excuse me. But I'd love to make it to the Hallow Scream events at SeaWorld and Busch Gardens. I know that they aren't on the level of HHN, nothing is, but they look and sound fantastic as another option. There are also two local haunts that I've looked up to see if they'd be running while we're down there, and unfortunately they don't start until October, and that is Scream and Stream, which is an event that's had 2 years running, and it was great to see what it was during COVID. You stay in your car and it's a drive-through haunt, and then they were able to expand and make it bigger last year. That looked fantastic, and then this year it's supposed to be even bigger and right in Orlando. The last 2 years there was a little bit of a drive. I know that first year they were way out there at Boggy Creek, but now they're in Orlando. So I can't wait to see what they do. I hate it. I'm not going to be able to make that this year. And the other is Sir Henry's Haunted Trail. Another one I really, really wanted to see because I've heard great things about the three mazes that they've got there over the last couple of years. They sound fantastic. They're long. So if you're heading to Orlando and you're wanting to do some of these Halloween events, just know you have quite a few to choose from. So Mickey's Not So Scary is definitely geared for kids. It's for everybody. It's not gonna terrify you. They're not there to scare you. It's a Disney themed event. HHN is for adults. They are gonna scare you, as are all of these others that I just mentioned. Hallow Scream is geared towards adults. Okay, Sir Henry's Haunted Trail and Scream and Stream. Scream and Stream I know can be a little more kid-friendly from what I've heard. But again, if you want to be scared, don't go to Mickey's Not So Scary. Go check out some of these other local haunts and events. Again, I hope one day I'll be able to make it down there, even if it's just for a quick weekend trip in October to see some of these. I'd absolutely love the opportunity to check them out, because I do get jealous seeing the folks that live there locally get to check them out, and I just have to try to experience it through their videos. So I'm very thankful to them for that. But I hope you guys tune in. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. I love communicating with you guys out there. We've actually had talk of doing a live show and seeing how many of y'all would show up to that if we went live and y'all wanted to communicate with us directly. Just let me know what you'd think of that. Drop that in the comments, because we'd hate to do a live show and nobody show up for it, and Jess and I are just talking to ourselves. But that's something that we've talked about doing, just to increase engagement and not be a gaming video when we're here at home. So that's out there. But thank y'all so much for tuning into the channel. If you like this video, if you like hearing all this stuff, if you're excited for Halloween, give this video a like, because it does go a long way to help the channel. like I already mentioned, leave a comment. If you've got an opinion, you got something to say, if something that I talked about tonight sounded super exciting to you, let me know. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to pick your brain on it. And then if you like travel vlogs, if you don't mind the gaming videos, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We've already passed our goal for this calendar year, which was 200 subscribers. We're about 225 or so right now. We'd love to keep that number climbing. Love to see 300 by the end of the year. I don't know how feasible that is, but that's a goal. But we'd love for you to subscribe, turn on your notifications so you never miss a Coker Culture video. It's been a fantastic day. So until next time, what's your why?